Hello, everybody. Anyone out there? Let's get some light on the situation. Okay, hold on. Okay, sorry. There was almost an echo thing going on there, but I think I took care of that. The wires aren't too much in front of my face, maybe. Hopefully not too bad. Alright, today I am planning to be working on this stuff. These paintings that I started last week, the 6 of them. Be working on those, adding on the next layer, excuse me, which is going to be elements of collage. I started pulling some things out. Some of this stuff is not going to work for this project, but I do have a couple stacks of little things that I may work with. Some of this is left over from last piece. So I'll try to have some fun with this. Look at this crazy paper. This texture is pretty nuts. This was a handmade paper from a greeting card, an old birthday card. So it's nice to keep some of that old stuff. You never know when it's gonna come handy. I think the pattern's probably bigger to use in these smaller pieces, so just hold on to that for later. So many random things. These, I assume they're stickers. And I assume it's something to do with scrapbooking. That's the thing, right? Where people bought dumb things like this. I mean, no offense if you're into that. I really don't know why the little ducks have clear holes in the middle of them. There must have been something for babies. I don't know. I have this. It was in a chunk of stuff that I somehow came in to be in possession of at some point in time, but that's something maybe I'll use. Maybe I'll come up with a purpose for that. We'll see. I have an idea in my mind of some things being a little excuse me, kaleidoscope-esque. I still have some of this like thing in my chest from being sick. And stuff just holding on forever, which is fun. No, it's not fun. And I got some coffee. This is a new one. I have instant coffee because I just wasn't feeling up to the effort of brewing an entire pot of coffee for just, what I wanted to get through the stream. And I thought about just making tea. And didn't do that because I'm a coffee girl at heart. But yeah, there we've got some instant coffee, and that sound, if you're hearing it, is my cat playing at the door, which is open. He can come in and out as he pleases. He's just my cat. Okay. So I have, like I mentioned, a very rough plan in my head of doing some kaleidoscope type things, which is reflective things, fragmented things, I suppose, circular patterns maybe. But it's a very rough picture in my head. I tend to work a little intuitively, so I'm not really sure what is going to come of whatever it is. And just have to pardon me for all the throat clearing and stuff. My voice still sounds funny to me too. The point of all of this is that this is a very small series of paintings that I'm doing that are going to be worked into being multimedia pieces, not multimedia, mixed media. So a base layer of acrylic paint, some collage. I'll be adding other materials on top of that, including a painted or drawn element that'll be more figurative. And the idea is kind of like, okay. So to get to what I'm thinking about as far as the what I'm doing with these paintings. Let me talk in a circle. I have considered how art can influence the world or people for the better. This is something that has been on my mind on many occasions. If you've followed me for a while or are aware of much of my work, was it 2 years ago now, or was it 2000? Was it early 2001? It all blurs together. I did the Inspiration Project, 100 portraits in 100 days, and I started doing that because I was feeling very bleak about the world, and in an attempt to like find or rediscover some element of like goodness in humanity, positivity, I started painting pictures of people that were inspiring. So hence the Inspiration Project. And thinking about activism is something that I think about, like how can artwork be a part of activism for things that I care very much about. I have my soapbox topics for sure. They come up from time to time. I try not to harp on them too heavily on here. I don't want to chase people away. Immediately, anyway. Oh, that's hot. Burn my tongue. So much And then I got into a conversation with somebody once where I had submitted my work to a program that was for people who are interested in using their artwork to create positive change. And I got into a conversation with one of the people that was managing that group about like, well, how do you do that? You hear people say like, I want my artwork to create conversation or to bring about conversation, things like that. But does it really? Is that really a thing that happens? Is that just like an excuse? Like I do artwork about a topic, but I'm not willing to do more than that, maybe? So after that conversation, it really got me thinking, like, how do you use artwork in a way to make change, or if you care to be concerned about it? I'm sure we're all aware of some sorts of pieces of artwork that have been used in response to things happening in the world, in protest of things happening in the world. There's groups like the Guerrilla Girls that do some really interesting things, like public art-wise speaking. But I'm not really an artist that's making work that works on a public. I'm not going to put my little paintings aren't going to be installed in the middle of a public park. That works really well for sculptors, muralists, things like that. Okay, so where does that leave anyone else that's interested? Outside of just saying, this piece of artwork is about X, Y, Z. And this is something that I've been chewing on it and wondering about it for a while. And if you want to make change in the world, you also can't preach at people. Maybe it feels good, tell other folks they're wrong or whatever, but it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't change people's minds. You really do have to have actual conversations and to get past oppressive things, to get people to change their minds about things that they are indoctrinated into, their beliefs that are harmful to other people. It's a trickier thing. you got to get people to really evaluate their belief system if they're willing to. Most people, I don't know how, if they're very willing to. So, I don't know. I don't have the answer to these questions. I'm just a little bit just blathering, and thinking out loud and just talking about what I've been thinking about. And I should be using a brush to do this because I really hate getting this stuff all over my hands. Anyway, I don't know if anybody who's watching has any thoughts or cares or ideas. I'd love to hear it. Yeah. But I'd like to... Oh, why am I not seeing chat here? What is going on? Why? But I see that Mary Beth and Jim are here. Hello, hello. That's goofy. I don't know why I'm not seeing things. What's happening? The whole point in having a screen in front of me here was so that I can see, but I cannot see. I don't know. Did I screw things up? Probably. That's what I do. Maybe now? Yes. Yes. I don't know what I did, but I fixed it. I had to go out and then back in again. All else fails. Did you turn it off? Restart it? So hi guys. Yeah. So I want to encourage people to become, like, evaluate where they are, and if they're happy with who they are, like, not in any judgmental way, but just like, is this where I really wanted to be? Is this where I wanted my life to be? Is this where, am I happy where what's happening in the world for myself? And get people to be willing to be more authentic and not be guided by values and judgments that aren't their own. Like, following our own curiosities, even if it's not a popular thing you're curious about. You think your peers are going to judge you because it's not, I don't know, cool, as the kids would say. We're not kids, probably mostly here, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like my camera's really washed out, but at this point I don't know if I'm gonna be able to change that for now. Just move the light away a little bit. Oh, not knock it over. It's weird. Why am I so... Oh. I'll do it. That's better. I'm not with it at the moment, but I don't know. I really know what's going on. That's not new. Sorry. I haven't broken anything yet. That's a plus. Discombobulated. So yeah. By being weird, I think it's like an aspirational way to be. I think that not following the standard just because. Like, if your choices are your choices, but if it doesn't serve you and it's not going to make you a happy person, then why not address that? Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like as simple as if your parents expected you to become a doctor because your dad was a doctor, and that was just the expectation, and you start just following along that because all your life that was the expectation, but it doesn't fulfill you, it's not really the thing that you're interested in, it doesn't spark curiosity and joy in you, then maybe at some point you gotta address why you are doing that thing. And is it worth it to just do a thing just because there's maybe less resistance in your community and such? I need to figure out why this is coming out so slow. It's making me nuts. Well, there's some gunk in there. Not as bad as I was thinking it would be. Maybe. Okay. Compasses are very handy multi-purpose tools sometimes. You just need something to jab in there and clear it out. Come on. I don't know if this is working. Maybe a little bit. But yeah, I think if we follow our curiosities, whatever they may be, it helps us to become more interesting people. Ha, there it is. There it is. Knew you were in there. Okay. Pardon the minor surgery on my bottle of adhesive. Ow, gotta do this every now and again. Because there's always some point at which I forget to put the cap on it, and some gunk dries in there. Alright, there we go. Yeah, and the lighting here is just... Is that better? No, I just made everything really dark. I don't know. I just see that there's like a lot of glare up here, and yeah, I'm finally feeling like I'm gonna run some errands. I'm gonna get the things that I need to reset up the space and get it done this coming week. And that will do a lot to improve the lighting situation in here. Okay. Well, I know I just said I was going to start using my brush for some of this. And I grabbed it. Okay. Does anybody use gloves when they work on stuff? I never do that. And I'm always putting my hands in it. And I know that there's some potential concerns about some, the materials that are in our materials, right? Cadmium and so forth being toxic. And these are things that I have not probably spent enough time looking into to know as much as I probably ought to about it. I'm using some printed cardstock at the moment, and I do have to be mindful about where I put it because it's very thick and it can make for an interesting texture to paint over if I'm trying to, like, say I decide to put somebody's face right here and I got these significant edges. So I need to be a little careful about that, I guess. I suppose. Okay. It would be smart to be careful. As opposed to doing what I always do, which is just jumping in hands first. That's the thing, like, fingers really are kind of the best, they're the best instrument. It's really hard to think otherwise or practice otherwise. Blending, quick adjustments. I know, I'm always throwing my fingers in my paintings and in my work. I think that I've heard or understand that, I actually looked this up at some point because I have a cat that likes to walk on my paintings. But the idea that liquid glove hand coating stuff, we use it at Anchor Graphics for etching class. Oh, oil-based ink would wash off easier. Yeah, that's smart. Well, especially working with oils, because that's really hard to get off. I think that I read, or I had looked up that acrylic, which is what I've used here anyway, is largely, at least once it dries, inert. But yeah, I don't know. By and large, I just try to like encourage the kids at the studio not to eat it. But luckily, the kids that I'm teaching are a little older than likely to do that. That would make for an interesting day if that were to happen. Ah, this stuff. It's like another layer of disgusting skin. I have some of these, you can see over here, very tiny cutout eyes that I'd cut out for a project some time ago and didn't end up using them for it. And it seemed like it would make sense to use them here. I had found a random lipstick I'd cut out for something I didn't use also. It's always good to hold on to these things because you just don't ever know when they're going to come in handy. And so many times when you're on the cusp of throwing it out, something will come up. I was not on the cusp of throwing this out. You know what I'm going to do? My junky little palette here. I'm going to throw some glue in there. That will be smarter. Put the cap on. And hopefully not wasting as much. Hey, look, random. Did I just put that there? I must have. Okay. So eyeballs on something. Maybe right on this one, right in front of me. I do even have a pair of tweezers nearby, just in case I wanted to do things like this intelligently, but you know what? Why would we do that? Okay. Gonna do this, kinda echo that circular pattern I started underneath them. Thirds. I have two small eyes cut out too. I wish I had a third one. If I did, I didn't find it, but I can always cut out another one. Come on, off my finger. Looking like some kind of weird monster at the moment, but it's fine. It's all fine. Yeah, definitely gonna have to get another little eye. All right. I'm going to take the top off of my coffee, otherwise it'll never get cool enough to drink in this thing. Which is great when I need the coffee hot for an entire day, but I would like to drink it. I think that it would be helpful for me maintaining my voice. All right, getting a few things starting to happen. Got a long way to go. A little swappy here. Like this pattern of just these gemstones. This was probably a perfume ad, I would guess. Which is always something that I find to be incredibly bizarre. Perfume ads are a very strange thing. Oh, especially on TV. They're weird, but not in a way that I can get behind. They're just like pretentious weird. And they never make any sense, and it just fingernails on the chalkboard. Okay. Maybe instead of cutting, tear some strips and do something with it. Maybe. These pieces feel kind of big. Maybe just little squares then. That paper tore very nicely. Okay, so maybe we'll do that. Do a little pattern again, kind of a circle thing again. Nice thing about having a little bit of paint or glue on your finger is that it makes it very easy to pick up little bits with your finger. What's happening here? Nope, don't like it. Okay. I guess the worst outcome of doing this would be that I hate it all when I'm done, but so what? I'd paint over it. Figure it out. Okay. Before I put any more on there, I'll just tear some more paper. I think I want to put this kid on here. Yeah. Definitely. Let's cut this guy out. Ah, goodness. All right. Try to do a fairly decent approximation of this edge. I saw the most ridiculous movie yesterday, but it was also kind of very clever and also not at the same time, if that makes sense. It was Return to Horror High. It was from some point in the 80s. It actually even starred a very young George Clooney. And I did this for starred because his character is the first to get killed off in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Spoiler, sorry. It was surprisingly meta. Like self-referential and making fun of the type of movie that it was. Like you see some movies these days that kind of pay homage to or joke about like 80s movies, especially 80 horror movies, and like their tropes and things. But this movie includes all those tropes, also makes fun of all those tropes. And it was very interesting. It surprised me in some ways. Surprisingly clever in parts. Plenty of things made not a lick of sense. But it was fun. It's a fun time waster. Alright, after everything gets dried up, any pieces that are like hanging off the sides I'll trim off with a X-Acto, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I have a couple more pieces to round out that circle. It's funny to me a little bit to combine these images, even though like at this point you don't know what this red stuff was from. You can kind of tell maybe that it was like gemstones or something, maybe, if you really pay attention to it, but the combination of something that's marketed to this what's perceived as women's desire for romance and jewelry. I had something kind of like that in the last piece I was working on, which I've been continuing to work on for a few minutes here and there. I just haven't had the time to really wrap it up. With that "give me a ring" quote, which is obviously in reference to an engagement ring. So yeah, I find those stereotypes about women and what we value to be a little annoying. So that's a good one. Pro-Tech invisible glove. Okay. I might need to look into that. That kind of thing would probably be a very good idea. I wonder if it would last through a 2-hour class teaching kids painting stuff. Always full of paint after those. Alright. A little bit sticking up a little bit in some corners. Just give it another little... This is a better way to do this with the adhesive. I don't waste nearly so much. It goes on much less heavy-handed, and I can control it much better with a brush. Yay, for doing things a smart way once in a while. Who'd have thought? Okay. So at least one more piece somewhere over here. This lady. Try to put it where you can see it better. Just see it there, kind of. Ah, this is terrible. She's it's probably worse because it's small. I need to trim around her, but she's just like exasperated 50s lady from a 1950s magazine ad for something or another. Probably canned foods. Gotta love those old ads. And most of the food ads, terrible. Looks awful. People actually looked at those things and thought, yes, I want to eat that. That canned ham product looks delicious. Put that on my plate. What's wrong? What is wrong with people? I'm saying that as a very much not a spam fan. Never was. I don't actually particularly like ham in general, which is random because I'm not a very picky eater. But yeah, ham just has always really been a big turnoff for me. I just something about like a textural thing there. Really. Food textures, that's, if anything's going to get to me, it's going to be textures. Alright. I'm doing my best to cut around all this lady's appendages. I'm not the most exact when it comes to anything, which is, again, fine, totally fine. Okay, not really sure what's happening with her pocket there, so I gotta figure out. We'll just skirt around that. No, her foot. Can I save it? I mean, who wears heels in the kitchen anyway? Silliness. Alright. I think I can save it. Once I glue it down, it'll be fine. Maybe. As long as I don't take too long to get it done, I guess. As I'm cutting and I'm deciding whether to try to cut out the space here between her arms and her head. I'm leaning towards not, but if I got out my X-Acto knife, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to do. Okay, okay, don't lose the foot. Ah! Gave her an amputation. Oh well. Alright, well, let's give this a try. I hope I don't regret it. There's no regret in artwork, though. Plenty of crying. No regret. Okay. Did that actually work? Ah. Alright. This is not as much of a pain. It's going pretty quickly as much as I thought it could be. Yeah. The trick is at this point trying not to tear the paper also. Working on incredibly tiny things. The camera's 4 feet above my head. Sorry. This will only take a second longer. Did I get it? Did I get it? Okay, there we go. Poor footless lady. The one thing I don't ever forget to put the lid back on. You only need so many close calls about that kind of thing before you learn your lesson. I should not be doing this on my work surface that I'm working on. If I were smart, I would have gotten a piece of parchment paper. Oh, okay. You can go right here. Screaming into the abyss. All right, we'll glue her foot will go. Pick up her tiny little foot. See if we'll stick it in the right place. All right, hack job reattachment, but she's got a foot. All right. I love these elements. The only trick is that since I'm going to add on figurative elements later, not allowing these things to be the center stage so much, like making sure that I manage the focal point. That will be something that I will be thinking of and looking at as I move forward. But there's plenty of ways that I can minimize them and make them more of a background element. So I'm not very worried about it. Something to go in here. That is obnoxiously ugly pattern. It's from bar cloth ad from very old paper thing. Every time I get close to that camera, there's like no light there. I turn this guy over here. Sorry, I'm like working with all these clamp-on lights and garbage trying to... There, that's a little bit better. You can see a little better. Makeshift everything. Okay. We'll just cut some angular shapes here. Decide what to do with it. Okay. Let's see. Still very hot. It's still fogging up my glasses. Okay. I'm gonna say it. Instant coffee. This is not really a suitable replacement. I know I should know this. Nonetheless, I'm disappointed because I would like some proper coffee. And that's what I chose to make in a pinch. Of course it is. Get down there. All right. I saw a couple other movies too recently. As my recovery from the last couple weeks of respiratory infection garbage that I've had, I feel mostly fine outside of, this stuff. And however, I start out the days pretty strong, but sometimes I'm hitting a wall by the late afternoon, depending on the day. I got myself into a second wind today, and hence here I am. But I'm also trying to allow myself rest to get over this proper. And so, watch a movie or two at the end of the day and just try not to upset the system. But yeah, one was Ethan Hawke. It was called, what was it called? It's such, it kind of looks like it's really overexposed. This is actually kind of white up here. I don't know. I don't think that helped much. Regression. It was called Regression. Kind of a thriller mystery, satanic panic from takes place in 1990, based on a true story. It wasn't bad. It was fine. It was probably gonna ever get me in trouble more so than like shoving my fingers in all the adhesives and paints and things. Is shoving things in my mouth to like hold on to it because I don't have enough hands. Or, you know, accidentally drinking your paint water. That can't be good, right? That would qualify as a bad thing to do. All right. This one's something else. What have we got? I got pink flamingos, vintage postcard. I love these old vintage postcards like this. Or these. They're getting to be kind of hard to come by, but they make great materials for collage. All right, here we go. I would cut it. What does it look like? People are at a race course in the background, and then here's flamingos. That's weird. I don't know, whatever. Okay, here we go. I don't know if that's actually people at a race course, but it just looks like, because Arlington Park is in town here where I live, and it's no longer open, but I've been there twice. It was not my thing when it was open. It's a race horse track. Racing horses happens there. And it was very much like that. Okay. I don't think I want those on this one. Maybe on this one. Maybe something like this, maybe. Does it get too lost? I mean, I don't know if I have a problem with that or not. Went up on the blue color. Or this one. I think I would, maybe on the green would be good. Yeah. Sure. Let's do it. Yeah, I think that the horses, if you're a person who loves horses, they're beautiful. Like, I was there with my mom and my sister once, and they both were just, my sister loves horses. My mom likes them a lot too. They enjoyed that part of it. I've never been the horses girl. That was my sister for sure. Growing up, I mean, I appreciate their beauty. I appreciate the talent and athleticism of them. I do have some questions about the ethics of the sport in general for the well-being of the horses, but it's not something I've spent a lot of time looking into, so I can't speak on it at length. But yeah, that just, I don't know, just not my thing. To each their own. My Apple Watch is yelling at me to stand up. Oh, I'm busy. More important things are happening. gluing stuff. Far more important than exercise. I'm sure every doctor would agree with me. Yeah, the racing of it is... And I'm not a gambler, that's for darn sure. Don't know anything about it, and don't have the money to throw away on it, and you know, all that stuff. Just was never much of a concern or a priority. So yeah, I don't know. Let me think. Let me just try something here with lights. Is that better? Hey, that's better. Okay, we're gonna go with that for now. Okay. Same with dog. Oh, absolutely, with dog racing too. You hear about those dogs with their short lifespans and having to have trouble finding homes for them after they've been past their usable years. Yeah, is that... I don't know if that still happens a lot. These are things that I am not up on at the moment. I know a lot more about the horrors of factory farming than I do like the recreational use of animals. And that stuff is pretty really bad. Very horrific. Okay, how to get ill or myself again. Always. This is why we don't waste our money on manicures. It's still so hot. Okay. My tongue will survive. Speaking of coffee, still gotta use this. I think it's way too big for these, but I really like that. What else we got? Let's come back to this piece. Use something from here, like these colorful swirls. I don't remember stuff ever. But I'm a very visual. If I see something, I'm far more likely to remember the things that I see than what I'm told or what I read or what I hear. Seeing this graphic, I can remember the article that it went with, and it was an article about how people who were involved... Sorry if I'm messing around with my hand, it's just because there's the glue on it. How people who were like very much into the wellness world, influencers and lifestyle people, there was like this close tie-in with people getting indoctrinated into kind of extreme conspiracy stuff in the last years. That was very interesting. Then I heard somebody tell me, somebody completely, who definitely would never have read that article, told me that his family, who was a part of that kind of culture for a while, that was something that drove them out of it. So that was very interesting, and unexpected at first, although I guess you can kind of maybe see, I don't know, just random and interesting. I don't know what I'm cutting. I have not decided exactly, but maybe we'll do some like crescent shapes for this guy, maybe. Why not? Decisions on the fly. One of the reasons I do this sort of thing where I'm just like, yeah, let's just do the thing. It's definitely because I can paralyze myself with indecision if I get too caught up in the details like that. Still trying to utilize just the basic what understanding I have of trying to maintain focal points and what I'm trying to tell, the story I'm trying to tell in the work. That's with those ideas in mind. It's like, hey, just go, just run, just jump. Jump off that bridge into the fiery depths of creative chaos. Okay. Let's do something with these. And cut more if I need them. Okay, the hamster wheel is turning a little bit. Random piece of scrap paper. Let's glue on that. Oh, brush is getting stiff. I should have been putting it in water. That's me being bad brush mama again. Analysis paralysis, absolutely. It's that, and it's just like being certain that the decision I make isn't a good enough one, and that kind of anxiety about being good enough or not. This a little closer, turn up a bit. Yeah, that's right. Kierkegaard said that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly like anxiety and overwhelm that comes with like too many choices sometimes. I don't question that at all. Overwhelm. For sure, that is true. Let's go this corner. Okay. Top coat. Yeah, these will definitely need to be having a varnish coat. When I do, of course, the pieces on the watercolor paper, there's not generally going to be a coat of varnish on them, but these are on canvas boards. And there's going to be some very varying textures because the paint itself is a mix. Well, some of it's a little bit more matte, but it's by and large pretty gloss. The adhesive that I'm using is quite matte. So once everything is said and done and all the materials that I'm going to be using have been put on there, I will definitely be doing a bit of a varnish coat for this guy. These guys, all of them. Not to exclude any of these little colorful babies. Okay. Oh, well, I probably won't end up using quite all of them. There we go. I only have like a few seconds of repositionability with this stuff, so kind of have to work fast. Come on, get down there. All right. Has anybody on here ever watched any Anthony Fulci? Any Fulci films? The Italian filmmaker. Most of his stuff is most of his stuff is from the 80s, 70s, late 80s, 70s. A couple things from the 90s before he passed away. No, I broke it. Come on. Too much adhesive, too much screwing around with you. Here we go. Come on, a little surgery. Okay. It was not meant to be for you. Next. If you haven't, I'm not sure that I would recommend them. They're very weird. He's somebody who's much more interested in like the visual, getting the visuals he wants than having a story that makes sense. Some of his films I think might qualify as like cult classic or cult films. They're very strange. And he has a thing with eyeballs. And if you ever watch his movies, you'll know what I mean. Did he make Suspiria? Suspiria is Dario Argento, who is an awesome filmmaker of the same era. They may have even worked on a project or two together, possibly. Yeah, Dario Argento's films are great. Yeah, they're interesting watches. Fulci has a series, like a trilogy, that don't have anything to do with each other, but they're still kind of considered a trilogy. Weird stuff. Maybe in art school? Well, yeah. Yeah. It would be fitting. Yeah, they're weird. And sometimes gross and weird. And the effects are of the time, but they're just trippy. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, once you see a couple of Fulci films, then you just know what somebody's talking about if they reference him. Like, yeah, Fulci films will be Fulci films. I mean, that is that. But yeah, Dario Argento is awesome. I'm a big fan. Suspiria, I even really liked the remake. Surprisingly excellent remake of a movie, which is a rare thing. Very different. But also Opera is a really good one from him. And he's even doing some like modern movies. He's come out with last year, I think it was called Dark Glasses. Might be on Amazon, is for sure on Shudder. Was there another one? Yeah, I've seen a lot of the Argento films. They're the giallos, the dramatic lighting. That's kind of, he really spearheaded that. So you see filmmakers now, like if somebody's trying to be artsy with thrillers or horror or anything like that, when they have floods of like blue or red or whatever lighting, that's definitely their reference. It's a homage to giallo films. Still hot. Still not great. I'm still gonna drink it though. Oh man. Yeah, the giallo films, which is yellow in Italian, I believe. I don't speak Italian, but I believe that that's the case. The name comes from these like dime store books that you would buy at the end cap of the convenience store or whatever. Whodunits, murder mysteries, and the films are based on those or inspired by those. So they call them the giallo films too, because the books were yellow. They had yellow cover. That's why they were called giallos. And the most iconic things about them is that you don't know who the murderer is, and you'll see maybe the murder's happening, but all you ever see of the killer is a black gloved hand. And then it's just the whodunit of trying to solve the case. Argento's films definitely had other elements of them. He had a lot of supernatural stuff in a few of his films, and some of his stuff is very classic giallo. Some of it, like Suspiria and Phenomenon, was an interesting one with what's her name? Really popular U.S. actress in the 80s with Jennifer Connelly. She was the star of that one. It was about bugs. She could communicate with bugs. Yeah, that was a slightly later film for him. All things relative. And the other weird thing when you watch those films, like, you'll know it's an Italian movie of that era when the talking doesn't match up with their mouths, but some of them it does. Because some kind of carry over from when Mussolini ruled over Italy, that era, that they didn't film any of the audio. They didn't pick up any of the audio. All of the audio would be put in the movies after the fact in like a sound booth. So it comes across as dubbed, but then when you're watching it and some of the actors, like, what they're saying doesn't match, like, as you would expect if you were watching a foreign film that was dubbed. But some of them it does match, like, perfectly, and then it makes you scratch your head a little bit. But yeah, they'd have everybody just speak whatever language they spoke, and then they would just dub it all in one language after the fact. So that's kind of a weird, quirky, charming thing about movies from there at that time. And from filmmakers like Fulci and others, they can be very, very out in left field and be very nonsensical. So yeah, we watched a movie called The Church this last week, which was one of his movies from one of his few films he did in the 90s. Filmed mostly in Sicily, I think. All right, what to do on this guy? This is my least favorite one at this point in time for the way it's painted. Yet, it'll be interesting to see how I feel about it in the end, after it goes through transformation that it will. Hopefully, if I'm doing my job. Let's think about what do we want to go on here. Maybe. Of all the random things that I have a little piece ripped out from, I guess that was an old Playboy magazine. It's like that big. It is explicit, so I would have to like edit it out a bit. But I have it in my stack of things to use. Plenty to say about that kind of thing too. I'm not going to do it on this stream because I haven't edited things out, and I don't think that these pieces are necessarily where that would go. Thinking about this though. Let's cut out maybe cut all the way around her, or just part of the way around her? Where would she go? Cut out at least this back part, then I'll take a look. We'll take another look. All right, let's see. I have my next book to read next to me out in the other room. And it's interesting because it's another kind of book about creative motivation, maybe? But it's a very different approach from the Big Magic book that I just read. Jim, I watched Blue Velvet last night, then started Samurai. Ooh, starring... Okay, I've seen Blue Velvet. That's an interesting movie. I have not seen Samurai 1. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Blue Velvet, though. Oh, yeah. That's some good weird stuff. David Lynch is kind of an American kind of weirdo filmmaker. You know which one of his movies I still haven't watched yet is Eraserhead. Haven't actually sat down and watched it. Like, I'm familiar with it. I know, yeah, and I know, like, I think a lot of his films are on HBO Max right now. I need to go and watch that one. Yet. Problem is, I think I need to be, like, home alone to watch that one. I don't know that anybody else would be willing to watch it with me around here, but one of these days I will get to it. And then it's remembering when that opportunity actually comes up. Remembering that that's something I want to watch. I'm very good at just like, at the end of the day, I'm just going to relax and watch something. Just throw on Shudder and like the first thing that comes up. Sure, let's watch that. This might be... So the only thing I'm thinking about now is whether or not to cut out this part or just leave it. I think I might just leave it. I like the shape. I like the yellow kind of calls in a little bit. Yep. Going with it. We're doing the thing. I hadn't thought through yet if there's going to be any text involved in these. I often collage in some text elements. Yes, Eraserhead on HBO Max. I need to do that while it's there before it goes away. Love me some weird movies. And then I did see The Elephant Man, and that's like shockingly kind of standard filmmaking for Lynch. I mean, it's black and white and that sort of stylistically little, but it's no Blue Velvet. So that's kind of, that one is interesting in that sense. All right. She needs a little bit of a top coat here. I'll paint on the paint I put in my little palette thing there dried, so I'm going to pull back. I used most of it, so I don't feel too bad about it. Hate wasting materials. Okay, give her a good top coat here. Trim this edge after everything's dry, along with that one. Oop. There we go. So instantly I like this one much better now, and this is the one that I'm just like, about. I don't really love these guys that I put on there. Let's see if I can do over. They actually come off, how about that? The Elephant Man, yeah, the Elephant Man is good. It's just so different for like Lynch than what you would expect from him if you've seen many of his other movies. And another, like, I've seen his Dune in parts. I've never just sat down and watched the entire thing in one go. His version of Dune. Which is definitely plenty weird as well. Although, I mean, we are getting another Dune film at some point this year, probably. I imagine from having had, was it last year or the year before that the first part of the new Dune series came out? I can't remember. It all blends together. Let's see. What do we want to use? I kind of want another vintage bit of some sort. That's probably way too big. Or not. Now that I'm looking at it there, maybe. Maybe. You know what? Let's do that. Yeah, watch it. Need to rewatch them all, yeah. There's so many interesting movies to see going back since the beginning of movie making, and there's so little time. Never enough time to get them all, and then you forget about the ones that you really want to see. And I find it fascinating. I really love the medium of film. I watch plenty of bad ones, semi on purpose, and I really love the good ones when I watch the good ones. So it's just, I love the visual storytelling. I love the visuals. Can't always find them. Yeah, that's another thing. We have like access to most of the streaming apps, but there are a lot of things, especially if it's not like a newer movie, it's really hard, can be hard to find. There is Canopy, which is, if you have a library card from your local library, you can get the app for Canopy, which allows you to stream movies and things. And they have a lot on there. I think they might have the entire Criterion collection, possibly. So, yeah, check them out. And if you have I don't know if you, I sometimes watch movies on my iPad once in a while, but not very often. If you have the app Canopy and you find something on your phone or a tablet, you ought to be able to cast it to your TV, so you can still watch it on a bigger screen if you prefer to. But yeah, that's a good place to find to look for some things that are kind of like classic filmmakers, and they have all kinds of stuff on there. I mean, if you want documentaries, man, they got documentaries. And I have found some really weird things on there too, so. But yeah, that's a good one worth checking. I recently started going through Tubi, which is free with ads. I think it's free with that. That one's free with ads. I don't know if you can like rent movies on it or at all or not. But anyway, man, there's some spectacular trash on that. It's amazing, and some things that were surprising to find. But that's like a new rabbit hole to go down. Some of the weird stuff that's on there. When I'm in the mood for something mindless. I'm probably spending more time cutting out his hair properly than I need to, because I think I'm gonna frame it up so a lot of that's going off the edge, but just having it ready for however we're gonna use it. check out. Yeah. The Misfits. Helen Rowe and Clark Gable. They might. They definitely might. I often just end up if you Google certain films or whatever films you're interested in, you can usually click on a thing and their little search page description where it's like where to watch. And that can give you an idea of where, if you're looking for something specific, of where it might be, but they don't include, I don't believe they include Canopy or some of the more like niche streaming services in those. Like, I don't think I've ever seen something come up as being on like Shudder, for instance, or yeah, that kind of thing. But Tubi will be listed there, and like YouTube, or if things are for rent, it'll show you. Tubi, Tubi, I think. And then Canopy is actually with a K, I believe. I'm pretty certain. Yes, Canopy for sure is with a K. Tubi is Tubi. And you got to put up with some ads, but hey, I mean, we grew up with TV with ads, so I had the funniest thing happen. That reminds me, in one of my classes this last week, somebody made some reference to something like having ads or changing channels or something kind of inane like that. And one of the kids in my art class was like, cable? What are we in 1925? And I'm like, oh my God, I feel so, I feel old, man. Ugh. Like, you guys know that it's only been in your lifetimes that everything's been on streaming on the internet, right? These guys are like 10, 11 years old. But no. I am a dinosaur. That made me laugh a lot. Like, you've seen those memes and things where people are like, oh, kids don't know what a record player... Well, now they know what a record player is, but, you know, a cassette tape player, or now a VHS, or a dial phone, or... Yeah, now it's like cable. Add that to the list. We have, for TV, we do have YouTube TV service. Did you? That came up today too. It's so weird, the things that are just suddenly, and there are still people that have cable. We use YouTube TV, and that reason is live sports. My partner wants to be able to watch live sports primarily. That's like the thing. And that's really, I guess, pretty hard to do without, because so many of the sports things have their agreements with the cable channels, at least for now, so. Okay. I'm making some progress, I think. Letting the brain process for a second, letting it chew on what I'm seeing. It feels like some of them are going in a different direction than the others, but I'm not sure I need to be worried about it. I'm wondering if I need to add much more at this phase. Or start getting into some drawing and figurative stuff next. Which will be like more of a process. These are dry. These guys are still wet. I kind of want some more maybe less obvious layered bits. Some of this feels too, it's like, blah, there's a thing. I don't know if that makes sense. That's language that makes sense in my head. Blah, there's a thing. You know what I mean, right? Makes perfect sense. Yeah, maybe. I should probably just put more paint in my thing. This if I'm gonna do much more. I don't know. I don't know. Just following the feels here. Another filmmaker that I want to kind of delve further into their I'm glad somebody else does understand. It's not just in my head. I've talked about my love for David Cronenberg films on here before, and there's still some classics of his that I have not watched yet and that I would like to go back and visit. Maybe add another one of these. I wonder if it would be better like this. Since there's no, it doesn't matter at this point if I decide that that's the top and this is the bottom. Yeah, I like that better because the other way around, this was just starting to look like a weird monster running, and that's not that that's what it will look like when everything's done, but it's bothering me. So we'll just flip her over like that. Try to not destroy the piece of paper while I'm doing this. All right. I think Cronenberg is probably best known for The Fly, which is a really intense movie. I haven't watched it in a while. It's kind of a hard watch. I'm sure anybody's seen it, but it's kind of it's just that such a incredible metaphor for, losing somebody to like illness and disease where you have no control. Seeing people deteriorate. It was very, very hard watch in that sense. Well, in every sense, it's very visceral. Okay, it's just getting to a temperature where it's like comfortable to drink, and unfortunately that means I'm tasting it a little bit more. I don't know if it's like dirty dishwater. I don't know, it's gross. Oh, instant coffee. Where the loss? Okay. What am I gonna do next? What are we gonna do? Oh yeah, there's something. Oh, there's my kitty cat. Hey there, Mr. Watson. He's just sleeping quietly on the floor over there behind me. I've never seen him sleep there. He's my good boy. I picked this up at the Restore. They had like some bins of old materials for to use for collaging and such. And I always check, and I love this weird old stuff and all the weird looking food. And these are not that weird. I have some old cooking magazines. I will or like housekeeping magazines. I will have to break those out one of these days. Yeah, like this relish tray. This is gorgeous. I don't know if I can get it. For some reason they pasted it down. Somebody pasted stuff down on here, which is just tragedy, but I'll try to gently peel it up off. Whatever adhesive they used is not real strong. But it is tearing a little bit. Because I could cut through it. I kind of like to be able to get all this stuff off. We'll see. Like, I knew that buying this thing might be problematic, but yeah, it's, you know, worth a shot for as, you know, affordable as things are, and it's supporting a business, a local business that does good things. So ooh, here's a come on, you know you wanna, you know you want to come off of the paper so I can glue you on other paper. Oh, this is the worst. Come on, just coaxing this off without wrecking it so that I can wreck it on my own terms. And it's so brittle. This old paper gets so brittle. Come on. Oh no, that did not. Who did this? Here we go. Oh, maybe. So close. All this just so that I can cut you into pieces. It's a tragedy of being printed on paper around here. Better than being in a trash heap somewhere rotting. Okay, this is okay. Well, that's as good as it was gonna get. It is perfectly usable. Ooh, which one of you is gonna get this hot mess? I think you're the winner. No, come back. Oh, look, a star. Random, shiny confetti star piece. Fell out of something. Okay. How do I want to do this? Okay. Let's just... I'm just trying to figure out, what do you suppose those little squares were? It looks almost like some kind of jello. Some kind of terrible jello. I feel like it's almost on the tip of my tongue what that would have been called. ASMR. Yeah, maybe. Oh, that was worrying me. Okay. Okay. We're just gonna... You know, relish trays? That's something that should definitely come back. Without the jello thing. Holidays with my mom we still do the relish thing, and I love it. Like, I am a fan. Kind of like that. Maybe I'll take that part of that rough edge off the end of the paper. Not, whatever. It can live there. What the heck? Let's just go crazy. There was always the possibility that everything that I did in the last stream when I was painting these would be virtually undetectable by the end of this project. That might still happen. All right, I'm gonna need more glue also. Oh yeah, back to David Lynch. You know, I have not yet watched the newest season that he came out with a few years ago of Twin Peaks. I want to think that that's like, is that on Showtime maybe? I just glued the wrong side. Oh my goodness. We're getting to that part of the process. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I haven't watched the new. I've heard good things about it, I think, for the most part too, so I definitely want to. Yeah. So I can't remember if I ever watched the movie that came out. Was addicted to Twin Peaks, need to watch new ones. Yeah, I know I need to. I need to look up where they are. And I can't remember if I ever watched did you watch the film then, Mary Beth? That Fire Walks with Me? I'm not sure if I saw that or if I'm remembering something different. Or remembering something wrong, or I'm just confusing like the second season with that film maybe. No. Okay. So it's not necessary to see it to watch the new ones, I wonder. Although I believe the new one, well, wait. I don't know, I'm trying to think the timelines. I think the movie takes place before the first season. I don't know. Per usual, I do not know. I'll have to do some digging around and find out where those are also. And if I actually remember to do it, I'll let you know where to find it. The prequel, yeah, that's right. Where you kind of find out some of what happened, some of the truth of some of the secrets. Kind of, right? Something like that. Yeah, that show was great. I think I remember when I was a kid, if I heard people ever talking about Twin Peaks, I just assumed the log lady, yes, she was great. I just assumed that it was another, like a soap opera, like a Days of Our Lives or something like that, so I never paid any attention to any talk about it back in the day when it was actually on TV. I was pretty young. Yeah. David Lynch doesn't really do anything anymore, I don't think, which is sort of a shame. He's such a delightful weirdo. All right. Maybe we'll use some more polka dot stuff a little bit in another piece. Kind of pull that around. I know I'm doing something right if they're starting to make me chuckle. Not all of them, but we're getting somewhere. Let's see. Maybe with you. Maybe a smaller piece with you. I like that. Just a little bit of glue left in my Little palette here, probably not enough. Nope, not quite enough to get the job done. Funny, the first one that I jumped in and put something on, I'm feeling the least sure of leaving it that way. This one needs something else too. I might need to do some digging through some old magazines to find something that I want to use for it. So yeah, that's like going through this stuff, which is sometimes great and weird. So much Jello. Just so much Jello. And these types of magazines are getting harder to find too. I think like on Etsy sometimes I see people selling some of these old guys. But they want to charge like $15 a piece for them, which, maybe if I get really concerned about it. Okay, this is catching my eye. This is kind of hilarious. This ad up here. Hanes. Oh no, instant coffee. Nope. I'm so against you right at this moment. Weather reports. Oh. I need to look that up. I was unaware. Yeah, Tim Burton. Man, Tim Burton used to be so good, but I haven't been a big fan of much of what he's done in maybe the last 10 years. Neil Gaiman. I'm with you there. I watched the Sandman series that Netflix put out because when I was in high school, I was really into those comics, and it's pretty cool visually. It's really cool, and I would recommend. I mean, it's on Netflix. I'd recommend it. Booze ads, shave lotion. I don't know. I might not. Ooh, that's cool. I don't know if this gets me. Oh, you're watching it now. Awesome. I'd love to hear what you think of it when it's done. I have maybe the benefit of it's been a really long time since the look of it. That was the thing I was going to say. It's been a really long time since I've watched since I read the books, but it felt like what I remembered them looking like. And I thought they did a really great job of capturing the visuals. So yeah, I agree. All right, that was right on the microphone. Sorry for that. Yeah, I'm probably just going to have to like spend some time digging around, finding what's left to wrap these around, and then on the next stream I can knock that out really fast if I'm prepared, and then I'll make sure I have some sketches ready to go and start working on the more fleshed out portions of these. I can just go down rabbit holes looking at the weird stuff in these. There's just tons and tons of pictures of Churchill's daughter in here from a very young age. It's very weird. Apparently that was the thing. Oh, these are great. These little tiny bits of this ad here. These little squares. Where she's just like so happy. Never, never, never have you ever, ever, ever looked so lovely, so alive. This one, it's you, the most wonderful you in all your wonderful life. These are terrific. There's a lot of stuff that I can be farming out of here to be using. Every once in a while I just I spend some time going through and like just cutting out stuff that catches my eye to have in my stacks that I can grab from. I need to do that again probably pretty soon. And then I still keep the magazines even after I do that, because sometimes I go back and I see if I have something else in mind or in a different mood or whatever else, you see things differently. Different things start to catch your eye that they wouldn't have before. So it's yeah, it's a fun kind of thing. Takes up a lot of space is the only problem. And I kind of hate that element of it. But, you know, that is the problem with, deciding, hey, let's start working with some collage. That's a good idea. Back in the day when all the ads were also illustrated, which is kind of always fun too. When illustrators could actually get plenty of work. It's fun, yeah. They're just so campy and ridiculous, and every now and again you come across something that's just straight up offensive in the way that it's aged. Like the Rye Crisp cracker ads. There, I have one cut out right here. It's a lady getting a massage, a bigger girl, and the lady giving her the massage says, "Any Rye Crisp around?" Obviously insulting the lady's weight that she needs to go on this diet food. Yeah. They're awful. And wonderfully awful at the same time, because they make such great stuff to use, in your artwork. Canada Dry ginger ale. And then randomly you'll see an ad for something and you're like, I recognize that brand name. They were making Jell-O back in the day. They make lawn chemicals now. Like, weird stuff like that. And we're like, I don't remember this brand ever made. Like, PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon, made other products besides. I can't remember what now. Oh, that's going to bother me. I have no idea which of these magazines it was in, but there was an ad for something else from Pabst Blue Ribbon that wasn't the beer. A food or household product. This is cool. This weird robot thing. It's like Frankenstein, I guess. Oh, I think I heard that Guillermo del Toro is going to make a Frankenstein film. I just heard that today. That could be interesting. I love the book of Frankenstein, so I'm always very I feel a little iffy often about the movies. They're not really, they don't usually capture the book very well. So I'm excited, but hesitantly excited. But his visuals, like, he's an interesting filmmaker too, in that he's great with like fantastical and crazy visuals. I don't always love his movies necessarily, but he's got some, Labyrinth was great. Pan's Labyrinth, not Labyrinth. That's an entirely different film, which is, David Bowie, so it's still great. Yeah, I'm trying to let you guys see any of what I'm looking at here. It's I'm sure pretty small on your screens, but it's just fun to go through this stuff. It's hard to read, although you might be referring to Frankenstein. It's been a long time since I read it. Yeah, that would be interesting. I haven't watched the movie that Guillermo del Toro did, the stop motion with, what's his name? Pinocchio. I'm sure it's great. I just haven't, oh, here, a whole section about how, awful it is to be fat. Jeez. Just terrible. Completely lost my train of thought. Yes, Frankenstein. Okay, yeah. It is a cumbersome read. It takes a long time setting things up to get to stuff happening. But I remember I really liked it when I read it, and I really like. It's not about the monster, only indirectly. Like the monster is actually Frankenstein himself, not his monster. It's about playing God. Like that's very much about what it talks about. The idea of that responsibility and taking that responsibility not seriously, and the consequences of it, and the horrifying, like what happens in it. Yeah, it's interesting. It touches on so many things, but it's been a long time since I read it. Wow, Girl Scout ads. Huh. Make a man. Oh, sometimes you ever read sentences and you like mess around the words, so it takes you a second to understand what something's saying. Surest way I know to make a man like fish, and I'm reading it like to make a man like fish, which would have been so much more weird and interesting. Is there a risk in smoking? Yeah, you can give it a shot. It's been, like I said, it's been a long time since I read it. It might have been time in my life that I read it that really spoke to me in some way. But yeah, Mary Shelley's interesting. Her husband is an interesting writer. I read some of his poetry and his plays back in the day. It's all pretty dark stuff. Like he writes about the things that I read seem to have like a theme, but I didn't read a ton, so it's probably just the smattering of what I got about like sociopaths was the thing in his writing. So, instant coffee. Why? Speaking of. Oh, I can't decide if it's getting better or worse as it cools down. 100% do not recommend. I don't know brand. It's not Nescafe. It's or Folgers. It's I think it's like a Colombian brand. But I don't know if that makes it any better or worse. I don't know if I'd feel any better or worse about any of the other ones, but maybe I used the wrong combination of water to coffee, but no. Just no. So at this point, I'm just... look at old school Snap Crackle Pop. Is that on the page? They're way down here. Very old school illustrations. Hold it up for the camera if I can. Move the light so you can actually see what I'm trying to... Oh no, I'm gonna not... I totally fail at this. Trying to show you guys stuff up close in this setup is like impossible. Sorry about that. Those are pretty great. Random magician stuff. Yeah, I mean, ooh. That's interesting. Okay. Well, it has been nearly 2 hours. I probably ought to. I would like to be, I would have liked to have been at those dinners. Mary Shelley and her husband and Oscar Wilde and Lord Byron and all those weirdos. They would be people I would have liked to have spent time around and learned something from, or maybe been horrified by, who knows. Very, very interesting. Yeah, there was romantics, whereas like American romantic poetry period is all like about nature and stuff. It was quite the opposing takes. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, pairing papers without meaning to. I really like to get, what I'd really love to get my hands on for materials is especially like women's magazines from the late 80s and early 90s. As there was just, like, I can remember some of them. I was in my early teen years in the 90s, early 90s, and the things that they would be in them were so cringeworthy. And like just unapologetically forwardly cringeworthy. All that stuff, that's hard to find for some reason. Like everybody just threw all that stuff away. But yeah, I do keep my eyes open. Or try to. I forget to look for things that I mean to look for. I forget everything. I look for like little images that I can cut out, as well as bits of text. There's something about the typesetting in these old magazines and on old print things that really appeals to me. The combination of the fonts and the spacing of the text and everything, it just has this very particular feel to it with these sans serif fonts, especially Futura and things like that. I just really appeals to me. Here, a very wide set. Yeah, anyway. That's some old artwork. I don't like to look at old art, like artwork to use. I don't want to be, I try to be careful about using other people's art or even like particular design work. When it's something like advertisements, I don't care, but actual reproductions of artwork, unless there's a very particular reason to do so, in which case there's, you know, fair use copyright, because if I'm using it to deliberately say something about something, I'd use a little bit of it, and be very deliberate in that, but it's just a level of ethical conundrum that I don't even want to touch. I don't want to infringe upon anybody else's work, which of course, you know, we can get into whole conversations about that these days with the whole AI art stuff going on, but yeah. Advertising, even if it's artwork for advertising, that's a whole different ballgame. That's excellent fodder. And I never feel bad about using that. Okay, that is a whole lot of fishnet going on there. On Miss Audrey Hepburn. Coffee. There's so much instant coffee. It must have been like all the rage. I don't know. Or they tried to make it that way. They were marketing it like it was. Oh boy. My goodness. You know, my first apartment that I had in college had a fridge still very much like that. Like a much smaller version of it. It was a very interesting apartment. All right. Oh, look at all this amazingness. Anne Delafield's reducing plan. So apparently you would call, this is the same thing in the Rye Crisp ad, reducing plan. That must be, the diet plan was a reducing plan. I wonder when that changed. That's interesting. At-home perms and all the things. Yeah, very interesting. It could be very interesting to use the ads for medicines as well. So yeah, I don't think I've cut almost nothing out of this particular magazine, so I have a lot to revisit on here. I'm kind of just perusing at the moment because I think I've reached that point of like where you're tired and you're not necessarily making the best creative decisions anymore, and it's just like a little ramble, a little just looking at stuff, enjoying the perusing of the old weirdo magazines with y'all. And here's an article about the butcher from World War II, General Karl Oberg. Interesting. That's Look at those beautiful vegetables. Getting married underwater, I think, is what's happening here. You know, I'll give them credit for that. That's weird. I like it. All kinds of stuff. Okay, yeah. There is definitely some good fodder in here. Whole section about McCarthy is definitely has potential to make some points. But yeah. Oh, I used that shoe in my last painting that I didn't finish yet. But it's still there. I don't know that you can see much of it anymore, just the toe box, but it's in there. It's fun to clean the modern way. Yeah, is it? Just what the doctored order on the stick, right? Some of these are amazing. Yeah, cute tights. Oh, yeah. Whoa, look at those. Fresher Foods being boxed cereal with a terrifying clown on it. That's some good stuff right there, too. Why bake him a dozen birthday cakes when you could give him a lighter? World books. We had these in my house growing up. Toilet paper. Do y'all remember when toilet paper used to be colored, like in colored rolls? You could have your toilet paper rolls match the color of whatever your bathroom was. I remember that. Very stylish, very stylish. Ah, the kitchen of the future. Oh my. This is great. Oh my goodness. It's an ad for bad breath. Chlorophyll toothpaste, yum. You could just chlorophyll yourself in the morning. Oh, that's great. Chlorodent. Okay. On that note, yes, it's been, oh, we've gone over 2 hours, and I think I need to eat something and go to bed soon. And I don't know. Not sure I'll finish this coffee. I made it about halfway through. Oh, I don't know. Oh, it's definitely not going to keep me awake tonight. Anyway, thank you for hanging out tonight. I will pick this back up on Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Central, bright and not so early. Yeah, hope to see you then. Yeah, again, thanks for joining, guys. Have a great night. I'll see you later.